Do you remember the last time that you got caught up in a fad? What if I told you that part of the reason the United States got the Oregon Territory was because it got caught up in a fad? Welcome to U.S. History with Mr. Rowe, and today we're going to learn about the Oregon Treaty. Far to the northwest was the Oregon Territory, and it used to look something kind of like this. Originally, a bunch of countries disagreed on who owned the Oregon Territory.
I'm not finished. Spain,
Russia, Great Britain, the United States all said it was theirs. But eventually Spain and Russia gave up. So that just left Great Britain and the United States to fight over it. Now you'd think that the two countries would constantly be arguing with each other about who should get Oregon, but since both countries didn't really have that many citizens in the Oregon Territory, they kind of just shared. They all lived happily ever after.
That's all, folks.
Oh yeah, that's right, they didn't. And it's all because of a fur trapper named Jedidiah Smith. Now, Americans were no strangers to Oregon. After all, Lewis and Clark were the first two Americans to go out there. But you had to, hike on mountains. The Rocky Mountains. So a lot of people just didn't move out there. And that's when Jedidiah Smith found the South Pass. The South Pass. The South Pass. The first Americans to use the South Pass were religious missionaries. Now, they didn't convert too many Native Americans, but what they did do is write a lot about how awesome Oregon was. They wrote that Oregon had fertile soil, sick forests, sunny weather, no disease, free farms, free food, Dippin' Dots, moon bounces, Starbucks, Fortnite.
Stop it.
One guy even said that, quote, pigs are running around under the great acorn trees, round and fat and already cooked, with forks sticking outside of them. In short, a fad was born. They made it seem like Oregon was some pioneer's paradise. So American settlers flooded into Oregon.
Run.
This became known as Oregon Fever, and it totally made politics sick. Get it? Sick? Because, fever and get... So the year was 1844, and James K Polk was running for president. To get elected, he decided to make some promises. Since a lot of Americans were moving into Oregon, Polk promised his voters that he would be willing to go to war to get Oregon. In fact, he said, quote, all of Oregon or none of Oregon. And the crowd went... Yeah, so when Polk eventually did get elected, he did not do what his voters asked him to do at all. Why, you ask? Well, he would have if he could. In fact, if there's one face you should remember about Manifest Destiny, it's James K Polk. Sorry, not that one. It's James K Polk. So why couldn't Polk fight for Oregon? Well, the United States and this new country called Mexico actually were on the brink of war. So Polk didn't also want to be at war with the British Empire, because that would be a lot of war. And Britain knew this. They knew the United States couldn't really afford two wars, so threatening them like Monroe did with Florida just wasn't really gonna work. No, it wouldn't. It wouldn't work. Sorry. So instead of declaring war like his voters wanted him to, Polk instead made a peaceful treaty.
The prophecy is true.
I know! Let's look at the map.
Bruh.
So the treaty basically said that Oregon was to be split in two. Britain kept the northern half of Oregon, while the United States kept the southern half. And once the treaty got to the Senate, things got heated. Eastern senators, even though they didn't really like Polk, actually really liked the treaty because it was done peacefully. They thought Oregon was worse than useless, so as long as there was no bloodshed, they were cool with that. Western senators ironically opposed the treaty. They wanted to declare war to get the whole thing and achieve manifest destiny. Regardless, the Senate ratified the treaty and the United States got half of Oregon without spilling a drop of blood.
Oh my God!
And that's kind of it. That's how the United States got the Oregon Territory. But I know, you want to know why it's significant, right?
Yes! Yes!
Okay, sheesh, I'll tell ya. You guys are some pretty awesome critical thinkers. Okay, the Oregon Treaty was a big deal for three major reasons. First, it was one of the first times that American citizens moved to a new territory and pushed their government to annex it. Americans of this period were spreading out so much that they demanded the government to take a more aggressive approach to acquiring land. Second, this large immigration out west actually changed US politics. Not only did the United States become more aggressive with taking land, but the issue about whether or not to spread slavery out west helped to divide the country and eventually would lead to civil war. Third, moving out west changed American culture. This is where you get the idea of cowboys and the gold rush and those towns with the cool little shops, and you go in there and you put, a certain amount of money on the table and everything's paid for somehow. And also led to awesome video games, like this one. Sick. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, but more importantly, keep asking the big questions.